So we finally meet.
So first of all, thank you for your time. And I want to tell you, it is a pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to be here.
Tell us more about yourself. What inspired you to enter the gaming industry?
Oh, man. Well, I've been acting professionally for many years now, mostly doing regional theater in small markets, and I have a background in Shakespeare. I graduated from LAMDA, the London Academy of Music and Dramatic Art, with a master's degree in classical acting, so I was doing a whole lot of Shakespeare there. And then I kind of finished my grad program and moved straight to LA afterwards in 2019. And then I booked Resident Evil about 6 months after I moved to LA, which is pretty wild. So I definitely feel like I fell into the gaming industry. It was not something that I had been that aware of or even had on my radar before I booked this job. So, but it's certainly something that I've now completely fallen in love with. And so I feel very lucky that this opportunity found me. And yeah.
How did you get the audition for a Resident Evil Village? Tell us the story and how it happened.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it's crazy. So as I said, I moved to LA in 2019. About 6 months after I moved, I booked this job, which is unheard of. So I moved to LA. I am an unrepresented actor, meaning I don't have an agent that's getting auditions for me. So I'm just out there on my own, submitting on these various casting breakdown sites that actors can submit themselves to auditions on. And so I'm doing that. I happened to see this random voiceover audition that I fit the specs for. So I'm like, oh, well, might as well. I apply on a whim. Mostly because I had nothing better to do, you know what I mean? And then maybe a couple weeks or a month after I submitted, I find out that I get an audition. And that audition was actually really fun. It felt like a theater audition. So it felt very familiar for me when I was in the room. And so I was just able to let go and have fun and enjoy myself. And I remember leaving the audition thinking, oh, wow, that was super fun. Great. And then you kind of set it and forget it and move on with your life. And then a month or so after that, I find out that I get a call back. And again, same thing. I go in with no expectations. I'm just having a good time. The callback, they had me do more improvisational based work. So seeing me move around as the character, interacting in space with objects and stuff like that. And again, that is it so heavily pulls from theatrical background. So I felt very at home, very comfortable. And then, you leave, you're like, oh, that was fun. That was great. You said it, you forget it. And then months after the callback, I think I finally get the call that I booked the job. And even then I had no idea what job I had booked. So it really wasn't until the table read that I started to put two and two together and figure out that I think I actually booked something really big. I don't think this is a little I don't think this is some like little voiceover gig. I think this is a really big deal. And you walked into the table read and there was just this palpable excitement in the air. You could feel that something was happening and people are like whispering in corners together excitedly. So I knew that something was going on that I wasn't aware of. And then when I went home after the table read, I furiously researched and tried to figure out what game I was in. And then once I figured it out that it was Resident Evil, that was definitely like sit back in your chair and process because it was a big deal. It is a big deal.
That's right. Okay, so did you knew Resident Evil franchise before participating in Village?
Well, I'm not a gamer, so I had never played the games, but Resident Evil is such a huge franchise that even I, a non-gamer, had heard of the franchise before. So I was aware of the scope and the magnitude that this franchise meant. But even then, I don't think I ever could have possibly imagined the insane reaction that this game has gotten, this character has gotten. It's been more than anything I could have imagined.
Okay, so what do you think about the fan reaction about Lady Dimitrescu? Did you expect this kind of reaction?
No, absolutely not. I had no expectations going into this. I was just happy to have a job. I was just happy to be working. I think my producer, Rosanna Sun at the Workhouse, she definitely started to clue in earlier than I did, where she would kind of be like, Maggie, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. I think your character is going to be a fan favorite. And I was always like, okay, sure, Rosanna, whatever you say. Just happy to be here. And so yeah, she was absolutely right. And it totally blows my mind. It still blows my mind every single day, the reaction that she's had. And I think it's really exciting. I think it speaks a lot to this push that we're seeing for diversity in media and in video games. I think representation really, really matters. And what's exciting about Lady D is that she proves that the audience base is there. People want to see characters that are interesting and different. So in my mind, she represents, she's kind of this first big step in the right direction, and as far as all of that goes.
So have you faced any difficulties while portraying Lady Dimitrescu? How did you get prepared for this role?
Oh, she's a fun one. There's so much that I love about Lady D. I think, well, first of all, she is an icon. She really is quite extraordinary. Capcom has done such a good job with her design, because what I love most about her is that you look at her, and even before she opens her mouth, she tells a very clear physical visual story. So even just looking at the initial rendering of Lady D, I had very clear images that popped into my head of like, oh, this is who she is. Oh, that's going to be like her. She's going to have this regal, proud, graceful, delicate, composed exterior. But then what Capcom has done is not only made a character that looks beautiful and is visually intriguing and striking, they've also made her a really dynamic and multifaceted character, because underneath this calm, collected exterior is a really vibrant emotional life. I think she is driven by emotion, and she cares very deeply about how she's perceived. And that's why the little slights from Heisenberg or Mother Miranda picking him over her, that stuff really cuts her deeply. And so I love that about her. I think she's so interesting and so fascinating. When you are playing a character who is 9'6", the thing you have to think about is that when you're that tall, you are also carrying a lot more weight on your physical frame and on your body. And all of that has an effect on your skeleton. So even just putting one foot in front of another takes a lot more effort than it does for an average sized human. So in my movement quality, I had to think very consciously about slowing down my movements and adding weight into each and every one of my steps. That way she wouldn't look and feel the same as all of the average sized characters around her. She had to feel different and present physically in a different way. Additionally, one of the things I thought about, because she's got that fabulous hat with the sloping brim, and I loved that she's able to look at people from under the brim of her hat, and that kind of lets you do this curvy, windy movement quality where everything is very fluid and indirect. Nothing ever happens in a straight line. Everything is in a curve. And additionally, Lady D is very interesting because she has that delicacy. There is a delicacy about her movements, especially, she's holding the cigarette and she's got delicate hand movements. But at the same time, underneath, she poses a real dangerous threat. There is that very real potential for violence that's burning underneath this graceful, delicate, composed exterior. So that's Lady D to me. I think she's really cool and interesting. She was a blast to play, man.
I think the character means a lot for you now.
Yeah, she does. She does. I mean, this is really a breakout role for me. This game has changed my life. This character has changed my life, and she will be with me for the rest of my life. And I think that's really, really special. I'm so grateful for everything that this game, Capcom, this character has given me.
what was your thoughts when you read the script for the first time?
I don't know. It's interesting because oftentimes actors are kept in the dark about a lot of things. So I really only had my specific character scenes. I did not have an awareness of what was happening in the game overall. But I think my initial reactions are kind of similar to what we've already talked about, where you look at her and she's such a vibe. She's such a character already. And that was so exciting to feel like, oh, okay, she is already giving me so much stuff that I can play with and play off of. I loved investigating the family dynamics with Lady D. I can't get over the fact that she's a mom. I think that's really special and says a lot about who she is, because she fights very fiercely for her daughters and she is destroyed when Ethan kills them. And so I love that. I think it's really important when you're playing a villain, you can't judge them. You can't write them off as just one thing. You have to be able to empathize with them and see them as a full human being. And I think her motherhood, her desire for a family is really unique and special about Lady D and makes her the interesting character that she is.
Okay, for the fans in the Middle East, they really like the character and your performance. So can you give us a word for your fans in the Middle East?
Oh my gosh, yes. And also, first of all, the fans are really what make this whole experience so special. It's so inspiring and humbling to be a part of a game that has a global reach like Resident Evil. And so to hear from you guys, to hear how this character has changed your life and has affected you, has helped you get out of bed, has inspired you to keep going, that's so, so moving for me. It's really, really special. So my message for you is, should I do something in Lady D?
It's up
that
to
message
you.
is going to be slightly terrifying if I do that. Let's see. Well, I guess I'll just give the iconic, so we finally meet. But yeah, no, we finally meet. I'm so happy to be here with you guys out in the open now and not under NDA. And I'm just so happy that you're enjoying the game and happy that you're here. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So my final question is, what's next for Maggie Robertson in the gaming industry?
Well, nothing that I can really talk about yet, but coming up, I'm doing a bunch of live signings with a bunch of the Resident Evil cast through Streamily. So you can check out our Streamily shops for that. We've all got a lot of different prints available that you can get signed by us. We'll do live signings so you can watch us sign.
we will put the link on the description.
Absolutely. Yeah. So that should all be coming up this weekend. Actually, we've got a big Resident Evil cast reunion on June 5th. And then me, Nicole, and Becca Pruitt, Nicole Tompkins and Becca Pruitt, who play my daughters in the game, are going to be doing a House Dimitrescu trio signing, which is going to be...
That will be great.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Maggie, for your time. I'm really honored to talk to you.
Of course, it was my pleasure to be here, truly, and I'm so grateful to you for making the time. And yeah, happy to be here.
Thank you, and I hope to see you soon.
Yes, likewise.
Thank you.